Daniel Haynes. Man, how's it going, bro?
Oh man, it's going well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh man, I love having you on, man. I love. We just had coffee this morning, so we've already had like an hour and a half of conversation, which is awesome. But
Which is not enough though. We can talk forever.
it is not enough, man. You know, we met when you guys first founded Live Full, and we first founded City Center.
Yep.
You know, what's really cool about that is you are a family that have been with us from the very beginning. You know, and you've proven and shown, you know, how committed you are to the process that we're trying to implement. And then transition a few years ago, you come on as a treasurer of our board. And so it's been such a, I mean, honestly, Julie and I sleep so good at night knowing that you're our treasurer just because of your track record, your skill set and the excellence that you operate within. So, so many things about you that I'm so grateful for, Daniel, just to have you as a friend, but, and as a board member and as a confidant and so many other things that we get to do together. So, but man, tell us a little bit about you. How long you been married? How many kids? Where'd you grow up? All that good stuff.
Oh man, absolutely. First of all, I got to start off with my wife. You know, that's probably the number one and the love of my life. So yeah, my wife Raven and I, we just celebrated 9 years of marriage.
Congrats,
you know,
man.
it's
awesome.
no marriage is perfect, but my marriage is mine.
That's right. That's right.
And I wouldn't change it for the exactly.
Yep.
You know, wouldn't change it for the world. So it's been 9 amazing years. We have 2 boys, Zion and Zaire. Zion just turned 5. He is a joy. He really
Both
is.
your kids
And
are so amazing.
Zaire's 2. He's a joy also, you know, but I just love those 2 boys.
Yeah.
Love those 2 boys to death. So
That's
I
awesome.
just, you know, that's
more in the future.
no, we're done.
Okay.
We
fair.
are done, you know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, in full transparency, you know, a pregnancy, it was just hard for
Sure.
us, you know. Both pregnancies landed us in the ER and things like that. So like, let's
scary.
yeah, it was scary. So
Very.
like, let's be done. You know? So
I'm with you.
we're done. But yeah, we're just grateful for those 2 boys. So I actually grew up in a small town called Boynton, Oklahoma. Very small town.
Okay.
Like 200-300 people. If
Wow.
that.
Yeah. That's country right there.
The country. So I grew up on Southern values and things like that, and just you treat everybody right. You know, you say yes, sir. No, sir. You know, no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am to everybody.
Everybody. Yep.
Exactly. So that's how I grew up. Actually went to a high school in Tulsa called Union, and college here in Oklahoma City at Oklahoma.
You played ball in high school?
I did. And played a little college basketball at Oklahoma Christian University, and you know, majored in accounting, and that's even how my whole accounting stuff, you know, kind of kicked off and things like that. So
what was it about accounting that stood out to you?
oh man, well, I have to take you back, even going back to high school with accounting, you know, because like I said, I grew up in a small town, and that small town, we didn't do anything but play basketball and ride horses.
Right.
That was it. And we rode
not a lot of accounting.
Yeah, we rode horses to school. Like that's how country it was.
Crazy. That's crazy.
So when I transferred, you know, to Union, I actually collapsed during a basketball game. You know, my freshman year. So that first year when I transferred, had an enlarged heart, and like before growing up, I just want to play basketball when I get older and things like that. So, you know, God just kind of got a tug in my heart. And then 2 years later, my best friend from my hometown, he died playing basketball as well. So that
really,
just
a cardiac thing, or
and I think it was like more asthma related too as well. So it was very simple. I had asthma too, you know, so. Just one of those things where, you know, began to question, okay, God, why him, not me? You know, just all of that, right? And God, you know, kept tugging at my heart. So like, okay, my life is bigger than basketball, and God put me here for a reason and a purpose. And like a month later, I gave my life to God at a camp called Kids Across America.
Yeah. Our kids go there. That's awesome.
That's where I gave my life to Christ at. And that school year before that summer, so that would have been my sophomore year, the school accountant union just came and told us about what she did for the school district and things like that. So I was kind of intrigued, but not as much intrigued because like, I don't know, you know, things like that. But
especially when you really don't see much of anything like that outside of this world you live in. Yeah.
So after my best friend had passed and I gave my life to Christ, I started to get a little bit more focused with my life and things like that. So when I was just kind of filling out my schedule for that school year, I was like, oh, I'll take accounting because I needed an elective.
Gotcha.
So I took accounting as an elective in high school.
Okay.
And it's like, I fell in love with it in high school.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old and like, I know what I do in my life. And I think it was just something about things balancing.
Sure. That makes sense.
It was like a 3-pointer being made. Like it was like the switch for me in basketball terms. So I was just like, okay, I know basketball is not my purpose, what I was created for. It's something bigger than that.
Yeah.
And I always been a huge introvert, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh man, I don't have to talk to a lot of people when I'm doing this. I can do it behind the scenes.
Which that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Because you're so personable. I feel
So that's kind of how the accounting side just kind of kicked off, and my desire to do it and things like that. 16 years old at Union High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Well, let me just go on the record and say this. If you feel like you have a calling to be an accountant at 16, you're supposed to be an accountant.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's pretty clear. You know what I mean? So, but man, well, I love that. I love what you said because it's really important. You said, basically you're implying that you don't have to be in a certain vocation to have an impact in a positive way or to affect, to have a purpose, You found purpose through accounting, which some people might say, what? But if you think about it, what's the most important thing that people always worry about?
Money.
Their money. You know what I mean? And so to have somebody that you can really trust, you're a CFE, which explain that a little bit, certified fraud examiner.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Yep. So basically, as a certified fraud examiner, I am expertise in finding fraud, detecting fraud, and preventing fraud from happening.
All
so
it's
one of those where the black Suburbans, they on speed out.
That's good. That's good. And we like to have that here at City Center.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's one of those where just in collaboration with other, even federal agents and just things that, or just other CFEs locally and CPA firms and just all of that, But also, I think the reason why I resonate with the CFE so much is because the heart of it, and I think the heart of like stewardship. The heart of finance at its core is stewardship,
Yes.
and just being able to help businesses, people steward those resources, and then once something isn't stewarded, being able to find out, okay, where did this go wrong?
Right.
How did it go wrong?
Right.
How can we prevent wrong from happening again in the future and things like that? So,
can you tell us a crazy story about some fraud?
I won't say crazy, but I'll say one of the most impactful ones. But I'm like, oh man, this is really serious.
Yeah.
And it was a school and a director who was misusing funds and created a business and had this school contract out his business. It was like a shell company, and
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the thing with money, everything is trackable unless you got an offshore account.
I know.
Everything
I
is
don't understand why people don't believe that they are not going to get tracked.
And this guy, he was married, kids, and once the investigation started to happen and things like that, he actually committed suicide.
Oh man.
So that by far is one of my most impactful cases I've been exposed to, and it was just extremely just the ramifications of it, and just the impact not only of that particular school district, but also his family, his kids, and other community leaders in the area too as well, and things like that. So
when you're doing something like that, you it's wrong.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And eventually that just kind of like wears you down to where you no longer
Yep.
And so that's really unfortunate. So to that point though, it's really, that's why we've always chose to say, in the beginning, how can we make our our finances more secure and make sure that and even as of late, I think, when did you come on in 21 as the treasurer?
I'm not. I don't know if it was before COVID or after. That's how we got to classify time now. It's BC or
But that was one of the things we said. Like, we want to make sure and have on our governance level somebody that really, understands, has great eyes for. Because even if it's not even maybe the organization, us ourselves. I mean, there's been times where I've been offered gifts from people, like a monetary gift to City Center. And I was like, this doesn't feel right, and I've talked to you about it, and you're like, I don't know if I would actually receive that. And I was like, okay, I never thought in a million years I would say no to money. But there is a time to do that. And man, thankfully you've been really key in making sure that we, are staying on track and comply, all those things. So.
I don't know how many conversations we had. Oh, yeah. Let me put on my CFE hat here.
Yep. So just
early as this morning, right?
That's right. Just so you know, Daniel has several hats with me: a CFE hat, a friend hat, and a brother hat. I think there's some other ones too. There's a lot of things that
we put on and take them off as needed.
Yes, we do. But it's important, man. It's so important because I honestly don't think anybody ever intentionally walks down that path.
Right. Agreed.
Sometimes it's just kind of like one justification leads to another. So, But
You're absolutely spot on.
so, and I would say that probably is human nature. So having somebody in place and taking those things seriously in a nonprofit space is really important to us and thankfully to you too. And so I appreciate that experience. So, but yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, what are some things that you hope for when it comes to finance, when it comes to just our city in general? That's a big question, I know, but what do you think about where it's heading right now economically when it comes to the thunder coming in, all these different things? What would you say you would give, if you were to give some advice, what would you say to us today regarding finance as it looks related to the growth of our city and where it's headed right now?
Yeah, I would say Oklahoma City is in a very unique position. And I don't think it's by accident that Oklahoma City is literally in the center of our nation, So to me, what that means, even beyond finance, is that Oklahoma City is called to be the beacon of light from coast to coast.
Right.
And I think even on the financial side, because there are just so many amazing projects that's either kicked off, about to kick off,
for sure,
or have already happened. That it's like, man, like if this is replicated in another city, like my goodness, you know. And thinking about, I feel like one of the best mayors on this side of the hemisphere, in the entire Western Hemisphere, and things like that. So I think Oklahoma City is positioned, really well to perform great financially with the new arena being built, even the football stadium or the soccer stadium, and just the other projects being built around the city too as well. So typically when you see cranes in a city, that means growth is happening. Yes, so when cranes are in existence, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, where's the growth? But our city is growing, and we have such a large land mass too as well, and there's a lot of opportunity. And I've been in Oklahoma my whole life, so and just traveling to other states, I'm like, man, there's a lot of like unbuilt land on, in Oklahoma at large. So it's even more potential, so it's even been cool to kind of see the growth of the city. I know you mentioned the Thunder, since the Thunder even got here.
I know.
I believe that was 2008, and playing in the Ford Center, and now, Paycom, and now they're getting their own, like, where it's truly ours.
Beautiful cathedral. It's going to be amazing.
Where it's truly built for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Awesome?
Not for a potential team, but it's literally built for the OKC Thunder. So it'll be the first time that's been the case. So super excited about that. I think just the position that Oklahoma City is financially, I think just a lot to do with our state.
I agree.
And our city leadership. That's going on. So I'm super excited to see what's to come across the city, and just how it's just gonna benefit so many households, so many different businesses, nonprofits even, too as well. Because the thing about nonprofits, and I truly feel about Oklahoma is that Oklahoma is really funded, or fueled by nonprofits and oil and gas, right? Because there's so many nonprofits, doing amazing
the biggest
work.
oil and gas company in the world.
I know, right?
So
so it's, typically once the economic, status is doing well, when we're doing well economically, they just help so many nonprofits as well, because they get more funding, and then they get to serve greater, and that's the thing that I'm excited most to see, how those economics trickle down to the nonprofits, and now those nonprofits are now armed and geared to go out and make even greater difference than what they're already making,
100%.
So
I agree with that 100%. And I think I love that on a macro level, we see our city growing like crazy. And so I also wonder what your opinion is about, so what does that look like for people on the micro level that are trying to figure out their finances? And it may not have to be related to finances, but what does that look like, though, economically for some people? Because I know there are a lot of times where, a city can develop and then it leaves its people behind sometimes because the social development didn't happen that was needed. So what do you think are some, I know that we do some finance classes here for our students. We do little things to help young people understand the value of money being a tool and not just something you just blow, it's something you use. So that's an example of what we think we can do to help curb that. What do you think other people that are individuals and homes that see this change happening, how should they embrace it when they don't really have a lot of, equity in the process necessarily as far as money goes and things like that? They do have equity because they're part of the city, but what does that look like for them? How can they grow with this economic growth in Oklahoma City?
Yep, I would say initially, 'cause I think with the growth that's taking place, I think it also provides opportunity too as
Yeah.
well.
Hmm.
And I think, particularly for families, 'cause I feel like I'm a product of that. I feel
Yeah.
like exposure is everything, So I think if there's kids, in the home, exposing them to opportunities, there too as well. Like for example, my dad exposed me to a bigger school than I grew up going to, and then
Yeah.
that led to it was a domino effect that led to me being exposed to accounting, and that led me being exposed to
It's a
so
great
many
point.
different
Yeah.
things. So I think exposure is key. So if there's opportunity to expose
Yeah.
kids to different avenues or different businesses.
Mhm.
I know there's different opportunities out there where people take their kids and just they try to connect them with other business owners just so they can get an idea of like, okay, yeah, this is possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you want to be a dentist? I know a dentist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
can my daughter or can my son shadow you and just things like that. So I think even just looking, I think that's something tangibly that I think parents can do is just
I like that.
expose their children to different career fields because there are a lot of different opportunities out there. When growth happens, even more opportunities. So I think exposure is key. So I think intentionally looking for
Yeah.
ways to be exposed, or if it's something that that's kind of missing on a understanding of like how finance and things
Mhm.
like that work. I think just reaching out to someone you may trust or firms. I know
Yeah.
a lot of different people. They put on different conferences
Yeah.
and teachings and things like that too as well. And I'm a name drop 'cause I believe in the work that she's doing. Crystal Foster, she's amazing. She
Okay.
does. She has a lot of curriculums and things like that. It's kind of geared to financial education,
Okay.
and things like that. So there's a lot of resources out there, and I think
Who
just
does
kind of
she work with? I'm trying to remember where she's.
I forgot the name of the firm, but I know she is in the
Okay.
finance space for sure, and
Okay.
she's just amazing at what she does.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think just kind of exposing to just different resources and people, I
That's good.
think that's key, and it's just something that you can't do by accident. I think you just have to be intentional on doing that.
That's good. So I
Yeah.
had you might know this gentleman, Derek Sire. He came on the show and he's been involved in mentorship
Hmm.
for a long time. But one of the things he pointed out that he said his dad did for him when he was growing up that I thought was really powerful. And I've mentioned this before on the show, but his dad recognized that he had interests that weren't necessarily like his dad. So
Hmm.
his dad got his friends that had those interests and
Hmm.
put them in his son's life,
Yeah, yeah,
and, a lot of men might think, I'm going to be the only one that,
right.
but the
Oh
reality
man,
is it takes community to
oh
raise
my
your
God,
family,
that
really.
part, community. Wow.
Yeah, and having a different perspective. And I'm telling you right now, as an older gentleman with 5 kids, you need somebody with a different
Right,
perspective
right.
to,
Yeah,
speaking to your kids,
yeah,
as long
yeah.
as they're, obviously safe, good people.
Hmm.
But so I love that. You're right. That exposure thing, that's part of that principle.
Uh-huh.
I think exposing us to more things and people is really healthy and
Yeah.
good for us. And it just helps us even gain a better understanding of
Yeah.
humanity when we have more people that are just
Hmm.
different than us in our life.
Yeah.
So,
And I think Oklahoma City is like geared towards because there are so many amazing people right here in Oklahoma City.
bunch, man.
And I kid you not, yesterday I was talking to someone. She had moved here from New York.
Okay.
And I think she's been in Oklahoma City for a couple of months.
Okay.
And she said one of the biggest things that she had to get used to was just how nice people were here in
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
again, we're not in the
It's a
middle
tough
of,
problem to have.
yeah, we're not in the middle of the nation for by accident. I think
Exactly, man.
even for that, just being that beacon of light and hope, and just
Yeah.
the difference on just how people treat people. How we can set the tone for that for a nation, right? And what that looks
Yeah.
like as a city.
I think the days of the flyover state are going away.
Yeah.
I think we're really being put on the map.
Yeah.
And I really do thank the Thunder for a lot of that because
Agreed.
I mean, talk about a world stage that
Mhm.
they've given us, as a city and as a state. But
Yep.
well, man, that's awesome. Well, we talk about hope a lot here, and so I can't move on without talking about what you hope for when it
Mhm.
comes to our city and what you see happening at City Center and all the different things. But yeah, I would love to just hear from your perspective. What are you hopeful for our city?
Man, I'm hopeful for a city where love for people is put on display,
Yeah.
and what that looks like.
Yeah.
What that looks like going to work every day, and someone's genuinely feeling that love from their coworkers, and genuinely feeling that love, from their
That's so
from
good.
their leaders at work, where it doesn't feel like you have to,
It's not forced or
yeah,
faked.
where
Yeah.
you have to even balance work and life, where you can more
Yeah,
so
that's good.
blend work and life, just because that, okay, my family, cares about my job because providing for my family, and my job cares about my family,
Yeah.
and just things like that. So even just from what that looks like, when it's like you just, authored by love, and just even how we treat strangers, and things like that. I kid you not, it may seem simple, but for me, it's just so big, when I let someone in the traffic and they give me the wave, I'm like, oh man, that just blessed my day.
I used to never do that. And man, I was so bound by that, frustration that I would get. I said, you know what? I'm just going to start letting people in. And life is so much more peaceful, and I'm happier, So it's crazy how that works.
And I kid you not, if someone let me in traffic, or if it's raining outside, I'm gonna roll down the window and I'm gonna
guarantee you, man. I appreciate
they're gonna get the wave, So I truly hope that our city can just be led by love in all aspects. Even in our school districts, our churches, our community, in the homeless community, in our politics and government. That we can just be led by love. And I think when something is kind of led by love, no one's left behind.
That's true.
So I truly hope for that. And that's why it was so easy for my wife and I to resonate with you and Julie and the things that you guys are doing at City Center, because that's what it's about, and the work that you guys have done. Like, we didn't see it firsthand.
You've been right there. That's what's so special about the nature of our relationship, So well, Daniel, I appreciate you so much. Share with us where they can go to learn more about Skyward and Live Full. We got to talk about Live Full too, real quick. Share a little bit about Live Full. Talk about where they can go to find out more about Live Full and Skyward. We want to know about all the things you have going on.
So Live Full. So the idea of Live Full, it was growing in Raven and I individually before we even met each other.
Gotcha. Okay.
I told you earlier how I went to KAA, where I gave my life to Christ. So they had another part of that. It was like a servant leadership camp and called Higher Ground. So I did Higher Ground, and we had like service. We had like a service day. We went to go do some work or serve at I can't remember what place it was, but we all went to go serve somewhere. Then after, we went to go to like some fun place and just hang out, and it was just a blast, right? So I'm like, I know the feeling that they gave me. I'm like, so the idea of like some type of like organization. And I thought that when I was growing up, I'm like, it'd be cool to do this with like an AAU basketball team, So that's what I was thinking about. And these were conversations that we were having like on our first date. That we didn't know if it was going to be a second day. It was like, man, what do you want to do with your life?
Y'all are going deep.
Yeah, 100%. Like it wasn't one of those like, what's your favorite color or your favorite movie? Like the first question I asked her was,
what kind of ring do you like for a wedding?
I was like, so what's your testimony?
Good on you for like shooting your shot, man. You should.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. And for her, because my wife, she has sickle cell, and she always wanted
battled that a lot.
And she always envisioned like just kind of giving herself back to the community, because so many people poured into her and serving it in such a capacity. So we both have the desire of Live Full, individually. Then we kind of talked about like, wait a minute, like our desires and what we want to do in life are very aligned in a lot of ways. So one day turned into marriage.
So how long was it after that?
So Live Full started as a community group at our church while we were dating. So we weren't even married yet. Live Full is actually older than our marriage.
Than your marriage, that's awesome.
So start off as a community group, where Live Full is basically where a group of us, as well as our amazing volunteers, we just go out and serve the community in different capacities, serve other nonprofits with whatever need that they may have. We don't never, hey, we want to do this. It's like, okay, what do y'all need? All right, let's do it. And just things like that. So
novel concept.
So we always like to say we want to be the hands and feet of Jesus and the wallet, because we like to give away a check to the nonprofits that we serve also, too, as well in that regard. So it started off as a community group in our church, and then it was like we did a Christmas outreach, and then it was like where we came and just bought and wrapped gifts for kids and delivered them. Then
you did that for us, the city center, right?
And then was like, I wonder if we sell T-shirts that we could give away more gifts. So we start selling T-shirts. We're like, wait a minute, if we sell T-shirts, then the money got to go somewhere. We didn't want it to go in our personal account.
Right. So we got to form a nonprofit organization.
So we got a LLC. It started off as an LLC just so we can get a bank account open and and things like that. Granted, still, it would always operate as a nonprofit, so it actually turned into a nonprofit, and you kind of help with that regard. And that get us connected to a lawyer and walk us through the steps and things like that about 3 years ago. And it's since day one, it's been operating as a nonprofit. Though it's been a community group at church, LLC business, always operated as a nonprofit. And I can say to this day that 11 years in, we just wrapped up our 11th year of serving the community. me and her never took a dime from it. You
That's
know, it
incredible.
just seems like just based on our careers and know with that our desire to, I mean, how can we serve? You know,
Yeah.
so every dollar that comes in a little full goes right back out to the
love that.
streets and God's people. You know, so we
That's
just big
perfect.
on serving and
Yeah.
serving people in different capacities for sure.
Well, I know every time you have a serve day here, the whole crew that you have is just phenomenal
Yeah.
people. Just
Yeah.
it's full of life in there. It's
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
So I want to
Yeah.
encourage everybody watching today. Go to livefull.com. Is that right?
No, it's ilivefull.org.
iLiveFull.org.
Yep.
Go to iLiveFull.org. Check it out. Man, reach out to them.
Yep.
Sign up. Seriously, these serve days are fun. They're easy to get involved in. Your family can come, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So I feel like family serving together is so important and
man.
valuable. So they provide that experience. So please check them out. They do great, great, great stuff.
Yeah.
And they're only on their way up. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
And where can we find Skyward Financial?
Yeah, so Skyward Financial is Skyward FS, as in Florida State, or
Okay.
Financial Solutions, because
Okay.
it's actually called Skyward Financial Solutions .com. So that's the website for that too as well.
We'll put that
So,
up on the screens for you guys as
Yeah.
well. But man, if you're needing a finance guy or if you're needing an opportunity to serve, we got your guy right here, Daniel Haynes. He again, true friend, true brother, true everything in our lives, and we're grateful for you, man. And just so grateful for you and Raven and your kids. You know,
Yeah.
you're such a great example of what a marriage should look like, with all of its imperfections, like
Yep.
mine has.
Lots
too,
of
and everybody's
imperfections,
does.
mainly starting here.
Mainly start. Well, I would say probably all here for me, but anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, you know, we need more examples of that in our community, and I really appreciate it. You are a voice of OKC, as well as many others in our community that we are really excited to be a part of their lives. So thanks so much, Daniel. We pray that I'd just be praying for Raven, that sickle cell, I think, will not be a burden in her life. And
Thank you for that,
man, and just praying over your kids. And thanks for everything.
Man, thank you for that. And then I'll say, man, it's definitely a joy and a pleasure to be able to just journey with you and Julie and the team here at City Center. Just so many different ways.
I know.
You know, you guys are amazing people. And I can say one thing that I love about my marriage is that I feel like we're not married alone because we have such an amazing village of people like you
that's
and
good.
Julie and other friends and family that just support us. Even
That's
in our
good.
parenting journey, like we're not doing it alone. So the word that I feel that we're both aligned in this community. And collaboration is like, man,
Yep.
I can't do any of those things
No,
by
no.
myself.
I've definitely
I would jack it up.
I've definitely given it a good shot, and I jacked it all up.
It doesn't
man.
work. It doesn't
work.
You
So
know, so
that's
just
true.
thank you just for being part of our community.
Oh man, yeah.
In so many
it's an
different aspects, whether it's professionally, personally, man, just thank you for that.
honor. Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Again, go check out the websites that Daniel mentioned. He has so much to offer. Everyone that's watching today, but join us next week. It's going to be another great show, and thanks for coming out.